is the last session of the day and also the last session before before we know the winner of the startup contest. Okay, so we have, I think, a unique opportunity here to hear about the two, I would say, leaders on the small launcher market here in Europe. You know, a small launcher is a need. We have, let's say, a collapse on needs of sending satellites to space, maybe those medium to small size satellites. And there's two unique companies like PLD and Orbex that have two very different proposals, but we wanted to end this track today about the space, you know, wiping out this situation for investors. Is this a good sector to invest in? And for me, this is not the question by far, is when I want to enter, in which company, and in which sector. So we are having here two companies that from some point of view could be competitors, and they will be in a mid to long term. But in the short term, they're opening a market that Europe wants to capture, you know. So this is the session that we want to provide today. Is not if this is interesting to invest in space, but when and how and in which company we want to invest in space. So I would like both of you, starting with that, to introduce a bit your quite different companies making the same thing, you know. Perhaps, Manuel.
Well, thank you very much for hosting us here. I mean, it's a pleasure to be representing PLD. I think we've been here several times in South Summit, always trying to talk and educate people about investing in space, which is a very hot topic right now. I mean, yesterday there was a very successful launch of Starship rocket.
Just about the hot topic, I have just realized that air conditioning has come back, okay? So nobody has to leave because of the hot
and we are all very happy about that. Always progressing on access into space is good for everybody. As PLD, I'm the CFO of the company in charge of the fundraising and investor relationship, which is one of the most critical and difficult subsystems in the company, because always access into space is very difficult, but to finance the rocket is also something very, very difficult. PLD is one of the leading European companies like Orbex that has been able to launch a rocket last year, Mira-1, and the purpose of that rocket was to test and prove that all the technology that we have been developing during the last 10 years is flight proven. I mean, to have that stamp in the market is very important. And right now, what we are with all the learnings that we got from that 10 years plus the successful launch, now we are applying that learnings to the development of Mira-5. That is going to be the first orbital vehicle that the company is targeting to launch during 2025. And we are just one of the companies that are pushing Europe in order to have much more complementary options to access to space, because we obviously see that America or Asia are getting very strong on that part, and in Europe it's something that we have a deficit that we need to complement with some other solutions.
Miguel?
Well, Orbex is not in Spain as well known as PLD. Orbex is a company in the United Kingdom, but it is basically a company which is pan-European. We are developing, the same way, a rocket. You know, well, space is today the new frontier of business. Space is now exploding in all fields, in navigation, in Earth observation, space tourism. But there is a common thing. We need access to space. All those space businesses, they cannot work if you don't have access to space. Then we focus on access to space because this is mandatory for the rest of the businesses. Then this is, if you have to invest in space, launcher is the first and the most evident one, because it's the one that everybody will need. Then if you look to the past 10, 15 years ago, we put 30, 40 satellites per year. There were 20 launches. This year, there will be 3,000 satellites in orbit and several hundred launches. It is exploding by a factor of 2. It's not just growing exponentially, it's really dramatically. Then all this business passed by launchers. And there is a tendency to a big rockets, which is SpaceX tendency, but the satellites are smaller and smaller. If you look to the satellites today, new technology, miniaturization, the satellites, the mean weight of a satellite goes from several tons 20 years ago, that now it's going to that with 1 kilo you can do business. That means that there is a market which is not served, which is small sats. That we're both looking to this market, which is exploding, and it's our focus. As I said, we are in United Kingdom, we have structure avionics in Scotland, we have in Copenhagen the propulsion. In Spain, we do guidance, navigation, and control. Is Deimos doing that? I think Deimos was in the previous panel. We are doing from GMV the navigation systems. We are using a company in Spain to do the structure, but it's all distributed. In Germany, we do the 3D printer technology is coming from Germany. I mean, we are quite pan-European solution for the same problem, and we are, as Luis said, more than competing, we are co-competition. We cooperate and compete.
Thank you, both. I would like you to explore a bit more on which are your differences and which particular topic are you focusing, because not all the launchers are the same. Not all the launchers are serving the same kind of customers. So do you differentiate among yourself?
Well, differentiation at this stage of the maturity is very difficult because basically I think Orbex and PLD are participating on developing a new market. So developing a new market is always the most important thing is that you are able to deliver the solution, basically, because the most important thing right now is not, I mean, the main discussion with customers is not about, for example, pricing, it's about availability. So basically they want to fly with different rockets. So obviously, Orbex and PLD probably are doing things in a different way, trying to provide the same solution. But differentiation at this stage of the market development is not that important. Obviously, we all want to be reusable because this is one of the most important things on having a competitive access to space. I mean, I always like to talk about different industries that they happen the same. I mean, airplanes in the 50s or the 40s, obviously they have the same challenge that rocket company is having right now. And imagine taking a plane from Paris to New York and then destroy the plane there and manufacture another one to come back. This is very difficult to be very competitive. But for example, developing tourism industry without a very, very strong access to those trips is going to be very difficult. And this is what Orbex are doing and PLD are doing right now. Complement the access to space, because this is going to be the booster to develop all the infrastructure that we need on space. And in the space, the things are happening because we need solutions on Earth. Space satellites are giving telecommunication, Earth observation, a lot of applications that nowadays doesn't make sense to do on ground, because we have the technology and the numbers to put all those platforms on space are becoming more and more sense, because it's easy to maintenance, are more global, and are more resilient to the speed of the digitalization that the society is happening. Digitalize the society from space is going to be much more easy than if we do that digitalization, putting stuff on ground.
Yeah, well, it's what you said. I mean, we are doing with different technologies, we are doing about a similar product at the end. We focus in two main aspects which differentiate us. One is sustainability. We are using biopropane. It reduced 96% the carbon footprint. We have to say that the classical launcher are highly contaminated. They produce black carbon in the upper atmosphere. I mean, launcher is a contaminated business that had to be changed. Then that's why we moved to biopropane, which is very clean. It is drastically reduced carbon footprint, but also flexibility. We are taxis. I mean, there are big rockets like SpaceX. They put 10 tons, or Starships, 100 tons, but you cannot go to that. This is a bus which put hundreds of satellites. We are taxi. We need to be flexible to give a service to a particular customer that go to a given orbit the day they want to go. You have to be flexible. Then what we did for that is we developed not only the rocket, but we developed the spaceport. We are constructing a spaceport in the north of Scotland, which gives us full control. That means we can launch wherever we want, because we do not need to ask permission to Kourou, to Baikonur, or to an existing spaceport. We build our own spaceport. From a point of view of a company, you need to invest in both. That means it makes more difficult to be there because we need to raise money for the rocket and for the spaceport. But at the end of the day, give you the flexibility to offer to the customer to go wherever they want to go, to the place they want to go.
Okay, and Jose Manuel, more or less in figures, which is the market that you are seeing for this kind of, let's say, smaller launchers in the future? You know, it's clear that I think what we saw in the startup contest, Pablo showing a satellite which were like 2 pockets of tobacco. You know, so this is let's say next generation size. And you're reducing a lot the cost of kilogram with your technology, but how looks this market like, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, go ahead.
no, I mean, if you see the full picture of the market, the space market is always like the trillion market. Everybody's saying there's a $1 trillion market that is going to be developed, I think, 2030 or 2032. So it's growing so fast. But it is a full space market. I mean, inside this market, there is different segments, obviously, ground segment, manufacturing, electronics, and the part of the downstream, I mean, satellites and everything. What is the key part of that part for the launchers? Launchers is a niche within this market because it's not representing even the biggest part. We are talking about, I think in 2022 was a 10 billion market, basically the 10 billion market that has been served by SpaceX. Imagine what kind of monopoly is right now. It's obviously growing, dragged by the development of the satellites or platform development. So basically we are growing at the same level of them. So basically we are targeting 2030, 2032 to be between 15 to $20 billion, which is not a bad market. But the most important thing is that even it's not the biggest, it's the most critical. Without the development of this, it's going to be very difficult to reach the $1 trillion market. Because with no capacity to access to space, all these forecasts saying that the space market is going to be on the 1 trillion is going to be very difficult because there is no capacity. And we will miss a lot of opportunities if we are not developing this access to space. I mean, launchers like Orbex or PLD, because obviously it's not a good situation to be under one only launcher that is dominating right now the full market.
So I have one more question for you regarding what he said. You have been born in a new era, you know, of the smaller launches, you're doing that. So it seems that from the scalability point of view, you are much more prepared for the future. Your cost is going to be constantly going down. The cost of kilogram, the agility, all those things are going to be quite different than they were in the past, you know?
Well, yeah, it's clear that this market, the small sats, is going up. And well, you said of the size of the launcher business was in 2022 was 10 billion. It's estimated this year to go up to 14 billions. But all the studies done by American companies, all the studies of consultant companies, put this market in 50 billion in 2030. That means multiply by 3 by different engines. One is mega constellations. There are something like 200 mega constellations being planned. Hopefully some of them never work because there is one semaphore in France with 300,000 satellites. There is one in US with about 500,000 satellites. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen because they wouldn't see the sun anymore. but obviously these potentially not happen. But there are many of those constellations. I mean, Starlink is being a big success. And if it works properly, there will be the European I2², there will be the Amazon. I mean, there are many facts will make this business to go up. And in many types of services. In Spain, we have nice projects like Startical to deliver air traffic management system from space. There are more and more services done on ground that is going to be done from space. Then all this is really making that exploding. That's why, well, we are very well put for that. But we can also scale our business to larger things. Why? Because most of the technologies that you demonstrate in a small rocket doesn't change very much for a big one. I mean, the avionics is the same, the onboard computer are the same, the software is the same, the guided navigation and control is the same. You have to scale structure and you have to scale propulsion. But this is something that if you are able to do that, in fact, what happened with the SpaceX? They did it Falcon 1, and Falcon 1 was the enable for Falcon 9. then the jump from 0 to Falcon 1 is bigger than for Falcon 1 to Falcon 9. And for you, the jump from 0 to Mira 1 is much bigger from Mira 1 to Mira 5. I mean, now you have demonstrated with Mira 1 all the technology.
Yeah.
That means that we are also in a position that we can scale and in the future target also to larger volume of launchers.
So if I got it properly, the technology is not done, but almost done. So there is not that risk on the technology you are developing. Is more the risk is more on the funding, on the way to make it a scaler, or do you still have some technology risk now?
In terms of technology, I think when we developed Mira 1, we were pretty sure that the technology is ready. Obviously, there is always a delta. There is always a challenge that you have to improve. Even when we are launching Mira 5, that hopefully is going to be launched in 2025, hopefully it's going to be successful, we still have a lot of challenge in front of us. But the challenge is, we did from 0 to 85% of the development, but there is always, because you need to improve a lot of things. You need to improve reusability. You need to improve the weight of the rocket. You need to improve the power of the propulsion. There is always an improvement, because at the end of the day, you want to be very competitive on the market. And in terms of competitive, for example, what Miguel was saying is very important, because many times the discussion with the investor, probably they will ask you, what is your price per kilo? And this is a very tricky question, because, it's depending on the size of the rocket. Developing a rocket is a very capital-intensive business, so you have to put a lot of money in front, and depending on the size and the performance of your rocket, you will be able to deliver a price per kilo. If you want to decrease that price per kilo significantly, you need to increase the size of the rocket. And this is when you have the whole fundamentals of the rocket developed. It's going to be very, very not easy, but it's going to be very achievable for the company. So basically, you try to develop a family of rockets. We basically developed Mira 1. This is ended because there is no commercial traction for us, or we want to focus on another segment of the market. Now we are developing in the same family Mira 5, but probably once we are successful with Mira 5, we're going to develop another rocket, because at the end of the day, we want to increase our competitiveness in the market. We want to deliver the best solution from our customer. We want to decrease their price for access to space, because we are facilitating the development of the space infrastructure. So every money that our customers save on accessing to space is good for us as well. So this is the race that we are now going on the development of the rockets.
Well, you said that technology is important. It's important. This is rocket science. If is there any rocket science, this one, then technology is not negligible. It is important. It's quite difficult to make a new engine, quite difficult to get it thermally stable. It is quite complex. However, it's not more difficult than raising money. Then it is, at the end of the day, it is a race between, you get enough money, you will do it. The question is, you have to do it before you get out of money. Then this is the problem, basically, is that there are two parallel projects. You have to be technically excellent, you have to get there, but before the money get out.
Just to complement, for example, the difficulty of raising money, that obviously, it's always difficult to raise a very significant amount of money when you are developing or per revenue. It's always difficult, and in Europe, it's something that we need to improve some part, because when you see the full world region, you see the Americans, they do SPACs, they have a very large venture capital that they put the money, the bet for the rockets. You have, for example, in China or in India, that they are public rockets, but when they develop it, they put it in the industry. So basically, they give the comfort to have the money to develop it. In India, for example, they have been developing the rocket from the public institutions, and now they are trying to sell it to the industry. Once the risk is mitigated, the risk of putting the money, then they say, okay, now you have to improve this operation. And in Europe, we are still thinking about how we are going to do it, because venture capital is a good solution, but the venture capital in Europe is not significant, is not big enough to support big rockets. We have some public support now, but it's not that good. we need to find a way to do it in a private-public way in order to secure the funding of the rockets, because we need it to keep having a leadership or a significant portion of the market in the global scale.
So you have the technology, as you mentioned, and there's the market. How are you trying to scale to capture those market, from your different approaches, which is your, let's say, commercial strategy to get there?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of commercial, we try to be very open approach. So basically, when you set up the performance of the rocket, you are basically breaking down your market. With the performance of Murafy, which is between 0.5 ton, 1 ton, we try to approach 90% of the market. So we know, and there is forecast that 95% of the satellites that are developing in the coming 10 years, they will have this size, more or less. So basically, we go wide, and at the stage right now that the company is doing, basically are approaching those customers, trying to understand where are their pains, and trying to make the rest of the development based on the pains of the customers. So basically, we try to be very open. We know that many of those platform development are going or traveling with the SpaceX because they don't have any other option. So we try to identify the pain, and we try to be very collaborative with the customers in order to be directly to the pain that they have.
Well, the strategy we want to follow to capture the market is the one I said before. First, to be the cleaner in the market, to be sustainable. In my board, my investor asked me, but Miguel, is the customer paying more for that? Yes. I mean, 1 liter of propane costs €1. 1 liter of biopropane costs 20 euros. But it's worthwhile because it's absolutely carbon free. Then today, there are more social responsibility. We believe that the customer more and more will pay a little bit more to be clean, but also because of the regulation. Sooner or later, there will be a law which will forbid to launch with classical carbon propellant. Then we suppose that the regulation will help our strategy. The second is flexibility. We talk about price per kilo. Price per kilo, this is the price of the launcher, but it's not the cost of launching. People normally they don't know the cost for launching is much more. I mean, you go piggyback with someone else. Before I came into the launcher, I was in the satellites market, and we launched our satellites. Then we negotiate several launches. We had the one launch from Baikonur. Well, we didn't control Baikonur. The launch, we were in a queue. We have 12-month delay in the launch. That means you have to pay your people, your full team, 12 months without revenues. This was millions. At the end of the day, the cost of launches was terrible. If you have your own system, you say the day you launch, then you have that day. But you are so flexible that if you are late, we move to next week or the following week because it's your launch. It's for you, and we control the spaceport. If you go with the SpaceX, there's a date. If you miss the date, forget it. You're not going there, and you already paid. There has been satellite launch without solar panels because the solar panel went already, and then they lose the window. They send it with a solar panel, and the satellite lost a few hours because of they send something instead of don't doing nothing. That means flexibility is our key. We cannot be in cost per kilo, but we can be the whole service and in the whole cost of launching.
I come back to what you mentioned before, the difficulty to get the funding. Which will be the main message for those people willing to invest in space? Why is this a good investment in the launcher sector?
I think one of the key factors that the investor might understand is a launcher is a business by itself because it's very scarce in the market. I mean, if there is a kind of noise that there will be a lot of launchers in the future, but they don't understand that the access or the barriers to entering the launch segment is going to be higher and higher because companies like Orbex or PLD are creating those barriers. I mean, to create a launcher is super a strong value proposition. You need to develop the spaceport. You need to get the best spaceport. That is very important for the launchers. You need to develop the technology, gather the team, develop the technology. And basically, it's very clear right now that it's not going to be one single player in the market like a SpaceX. there will be probably, I don't know, 6, 8, 10, 12 complementary at the global scale, all right? So it's a question to choose what is going to be the right investment. Do I trust more on the management team of Orbex or on PLD? But it's a very safe investment opportunity because as we are trying to show to the people, the market is there, the value proposition is very good, flexibility, bio or green stamp on the rockets. There is a lot of institutions trying to support in terms of sovereignty, the access to space. There are many factors that they give a lot of robust pillars to invest in space. But one thing that they need to understand is that it's a long-term investment. So if they have a window saying, I'm going to get an investment in this company and I want to exit in 3-5 years, I mean, the investment is not going to be as mature as they are waiting or they are used to. Probably the investment on the launch segment and many times in the space sector, it takes at least 10 years. And this is some of the things that venture capital or some investment funds are not really ready right now. So they need to understand this term proposition, and obviously if you have that framework, the investment is very important. It's very the risk, because you will have the market, you will have the development of the investment during the right time, and it's a very safe investment.
Miguel, do you share this feeling? And in addition to that, is the public institution sharing this long-term investment with private investor at this moment?
Yes, it is. I mean, as I said before, space is the new frontier of business. There are classical business like telecommunication, we have $1 billion, but navigation today is not just that it's a business by itself, is that it is an enabler for the businesses. If there is no satellite for navigation, there will be no Uber, Cabify, Deliveroo. There are thousands, there are millions of jobs which depend on the space, which enable other businesses. But there are new businesses coming, manufactured in orbit infrastructure. This is coming. Soon it will be to be there. Power from space. There are now projects to have big solar panels on space that we can bring the energy down to the Earth. There is also in-orbit servicing. The orbiting. Unfortunately, we have to talk later on about that because it's the main problem that we have. We have a lot of space debris and we have to clean all that. I mean, the number of businesses, and in the future, asteroid mining, asteroid have reached in materials, in gold, platinum. That means this business is coming, and all this exploiting, and all that needs the launchers. Then, when you question about the public, this is understood. It's understood because all this is civilian market, but space is also a risk and a threat. And the Ukrainian war has demonstrated that space is a place where defense has nothing to say. Europe didn't use much space for defense, while in the States, people think that the space in the States is NASA. NASA is $20 billion budget. Ministry of Defense is $30 billion. I mean, 50% larger the defense space sector than NASA. In Europe, that is changing. Last year, Europe create what is the strategy for defense and space. And most countries have created a new space command. Spain has created the Air and Space Force. Then this is a reason why we believe, and the public institution believe on that. The Spanish Space Agency has a unit to invest on that.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that we are running out of time, but I would like to thank you a lot to share this time with us today. Thanks.
Thank you very much.